So today we're going to expand our knowledge on object-oriented programming by adding inheritance and abstract classes and methods. This builds on my earlier video on OOP, so if you haven't watched it yet, I recommend to go and watch it right now. But just quickly to recap, we've created this class called animal. It has a name and a sound. It has a constructor and it has a method to make a sound. And in the program class, we use the constructor to create a dog and a cat. And when we run a program, you can say the dog says woof and the cat says meow. But there's more differences to dogs and cats than what they say and what the name is. So right now, because the dog and the cat has the same class, they can only behave in the same way. They have all the same methods. So let's say we made a method called public void climb tree. The cat would probably be able to climb the tree, but the dog would have a much harder time doing this. So it won't make sense to have these in the same class as they don't have the same abilities. Or let's say that we wanted to create another animal, a parrot for instance. Well, the parrot would be able to fly, but the cat and the dog wouldn't be able to fly. So it wouldn't make sense to have a fly method on the animal class where the dog and the cat can use it as well. Therefore, it would make much more sense to divide these animals into their separate classes. But for this, we need to make this class abstract. So right now, I'm just going to delete the code from the program. And up here between public and class, I'm going to type abstract. Now, why do we even use the abstract? That's because the animal is really abstract. If you think of an animal, let's say how many legs does an animal have? What sound does an animal make? There's no real answer to this because it depends on which kind of animal it is. But there are some things we can still keep in here. For instance, the animal will still have a name. It will still be able to make a sound, but we still need to change a bit of the code in here. So now let's create our new classes. We have the animal class, but we're going to create a few new classes. We're going to create a class called dog. We're also going to create a class called lion, and we're also going to create a class called parrot. So now we have the dog class, the lion class, and the parrot class. Now these need to inherit from the animal. So to do this, you go to your class name, you put a colon here, and then you add the animal. So now it inherits from the animal. You can see we get an error right now. There's no argument that given that corresponds to a required parameter name of animal. Now this is because right now it doesn't have the constructor of the animal. That means that we can't create it as an object. So if you go to show potential fixes, you can generate this constructor. So now you can create the public parrot, which will still have a name and a sound, but it also has the base. This means the reference to the original class, in this case animal, where it gets the name and the sound from. We're going to do this for the lion and the dog as well. So now parrot, lion, and dog all inherit from the class animal. So they are now all animals. But right now they can't really access the name and the sound because these variables are private. We need to make it visible, not to everyone, because our program doesn't need to know about it, but we need to make it visible only to the classes that need it. So therefore we will use the keyword called protected. So protected means that only the classes that inherit from this class can access these variables. We also need to make this method abstract because they should all make the sound, but they shouldn't say the same sound. So here between public and void, we will use the abstract keyword. Now you can see we get an error here. That's because it cannot declare method body when it's an abstract method. So we need to remove the method body. And now we just finish it with a semicolon. So now we have our abstract class, our protected variables, our constructor, and make sound. And you can see the constructor has 3 references. So it has in the dog, in the lion, and the parrot, because all of these classes use the constructor as the base. And the make sound has 0 references. This is because right now, none of these classes implement the make sound. And now, because I've marked this as abstract, when we go to one of the classes, for instance parrot, you can see we get a new error. Parrot does not implement the inherited abstract member animal that makes sound. So it does not implement the make sound, but since it's abstract, it needs to. So again, show potential fixes, implement abstract class, or you can just type this yourself. As you can see right now, it has this keyword called override. This basically means that it makes its own version of make sound, so it needs this override keyword. Right now it also has this. This just means it gives us a new error if we try to run this, which says it's not implemented. So right now we don't implement the method as we should. So this is more of a reminder for ourselves. So you can actually just delete this, it won't give you any errors. So now we can create the make sound for the parrot itself. Let's just make the console write squawk. But this also means that we actually don't need the sound here because now they make their own sound. So you can delete it from everywhere in the animal class. And you can also go ahead and delete the sound from the parrot, the lion, and the dog. And you can go ahead and replace these sounds with each their version of the make sound method. So the dog says woof, the lion says roar, and the parrot says squawk. So now let's give each animal their own functionality. So for instance, for the parrot, we can create the public void fly. The dog and the lion, of course, won't need this as they can't fly. And it can just be a console write line that says I'm flying. And the lion could have a attack method. Again, just a console write line for the example. It says I'm an angry attacking lion. And the dog could have a method that says eat snacks, and it could just be a console write line saying eating dog biscuits. So now to recap, we have the abstract class called animal. We have the protected string name. Remember, it's protected because the inheriting classes need this variable. It has the name constructor and has the sound that it makes, which is also an abstract method. So the parrot, the lion, and the dog each implement their own make sound method, and they also have their own functionality: fly for the parrot, attack for the lion, and eat snacks for the dog. And of course also they have this colon to animal, which means that they inherit from this class. So now if you go to a program, you can reference the dog. Let's call it Scooby equals new dog. It still needs a name, Scooby. Let me just add the lion and the parrot as well. So now we've created the dog Scooby, the lion Simba, and the parrot called Birdie. You can see here they all have their own name. And now we can use the methods. So we can use Scooby.makeSound. So now we don't need to specify in the creation of objects which sound they make. Now we can just use each their separate make sound method. So if we run this, it's woof, roar, and squawk. And it also matches with the order that we've called it out here. With the dog first, the lion second, and then the parrot third. Or we can also call their individual methods. So Scooby, if you type Scooby, or whatever you call your dog, use the dot for the extensions. You can see there's the make sound, there's also the eat snacks. You can use the same for Simba.attack, and the same for Birdie.fly. I'll just add a console write line here for readability. So if we run this, it says woof, roar, and squawk. And it says eating dog biscuits. And it says I'm an angry attacking lion. And it says I'm flying. So now with inheritance and abstract methods, we've spread out the responsibility of our code even more than we did previously, and it's much more readable. And now if you wanted to add a method only for the lion but not for the other animals, you can just go to the lion class. So this is much more flexible than if you're only using one class. I hope this video helped you out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.